I ever get to that destination that I desire, what am I losing? What is it costing me along the way? It's costing me my family. It's costing me my sanity, my friends. And I wasn't making the money that I was desiring, but I was spending a ton of money on stuff like investing in anything that would help me grow my business. It was probably about that 2-year mark when things broke down. And I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I can't. Okay, so this is my very first episode actually recording both video and on audio, right? In the last few years, the one thing I've absolutely loved about doing my podcast is that I can do it in the basement, or not basement. I don't have a basement, but in the dark. I could do it scrubby in workout clothes. I could do it anywhere, everywhere. All I needed was my mic and my camera, or not even the camera. I just needed my mic and my computer. But now over the years, I'm learning and I'm growing and stretching myself and learning that I really want community. I really want connection with you. And sometimes it's easier to connect when you see me on video. And I just came off of a training and a retreat with my coach and mentor. Some of the things that were coming up in that retreat were things around me feeling uncomfortable being seen and heard and being vulnerable and being open with people. And so this is one way for me to kind of push past that resistance, to push past that uncomfortability, is to look at how can I start recording some more of these podcasts in video format too. I can tell you it's definitely going to be a challenge for me. It's going to be new. It's going to be learning but that's part of what this is, right? Like business is all about growth and expansion. And even as human beings, like if you don't have a business, it is all about growth and expansion. Like that's what life should be about, is like continuing to grow. So how do we ever grow if we stay within that comfort zone and the things that feel safe and feel good and all of that? So I'm acknowledging to you that this is one of my goals for this year, is to expand and grow in my comfortability of being seen and heard and being vulnerable, like being me, being honest and open about who I am, what things matter to me, and being okay saying whatever, knowing that not everybody's going to agree with me, right? Like not everybody's going to like me. Not everybody's going to like what I say. Not everybody is going to like the way I do it. But those of you who are in 100% there with me, I want you here with me, right? Like I want to be able to connect with you. So if this is resonating with you, you are my people, like you are my person. So I want to be able to foster and create that community and that support. And one of the only ways that we do that is through vulnerability and me being willing to speak up and share. In fact, I was just talking to a friend of mine, and she had kind of alluded to this idea of how selfish it can be sometimes to keep things to yourself. Like me staying stuck in my fear and me staying stuck in not wanting to be exposed, if you'll say, like exposed, is really in some way selfish. Because if I have a message and I have tools and I have resources that might help you get off of this struggle, hustle, bus of juggling mom life and business life, then me keeping it to myself, like me staying in my space of discomfort with being on video or camera, that's about me. That's me being selfish in that moment and not really looking at who I could be helping and who I could be supporting and moving forward. So that's kind of been the lens, the shift for me recently, is that how can I be okay embracing the vulnerability and the exposure? Sometimes it feels really raw and feels really uncomfortable, but doing it in a way that I know is impacting and making a difference for you. So thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for being a part of this journey with me, right? And that is a whole nother side note. Like that is not what this episode is about. This episode is really geared around talking about how you can align with your business, your cycle, and why that's so important and why it's so valuable and how it can be the game changer, right? There are more and more women in business today than ever before. There's more women trying to build a business so that they can be home with their family. But if you are in that space, you know that building a business takes a lot of work. It's not easy in the sense of, hey, I'm just going to pop these few things in and I'm going to have a solid golden business. Like it takes work. It takes effort, right? There's a lot that goes into building a business. So when we look at that and we look at having that time with our family, it can be very, very easy to get into this space of spending more time building the business and away from your family than you were maybe if you were working a 9 to 5. Because a business doesn't ever turn off in your head. A business, you're always thinking about it. You're always thinking that next idea. You're always thinking about how you could improve or tweak or do whatever. And so having your business tends to bleed together into that everyday life. And then on top of that, trying to figure out like, how do I actually get this business where I want it? Like that dream, that goal, and still be a great mom and show up for my family at the same time. There's this juggle and this balance between both. And so the beautiful thing is that when we use our cycle to maximize our business, what happens is that we're getting more done in less time. And then that has this ripple effect and this cascade of then being able to help us actually get what we want. Like what we got into this business for in the first place was most likely, if you're like me, you probably did it just to have the extra time with your family or the freedom or to be able to go do what you want to do. Maybe it was financial freedom, but if you're stuck in this time loop of never having enough time to do it all, then you're kind of stuck back where you were. But the cycle makes it different. Cycling your business makes it different. I want to tell a little bit about my journey and where it started, because that was my goal in the beginning. My goal in the beginning was to be able to build this business that was going to give me time and financial freedom, right? I wanted to be able to spend time with my kids when they were little and still be contributing to my family. So when my first baby was born, I joined Beachbody. And I absolutely loved it. And it's fascinating to me now, like even this weekend at my retreat, I would say at least every other person that I came in contact with had been a former Beachbody coach. And I think that that's because Beachbody does such a great job opening you up to this world of possibility. There's like 3 vital behaviors inside Beachbody, and I don't remember all of them. One, I think, is working out. 2 might be reaching out to people. I don't remember. I think it is. I think it's reaching out to people. And then the third one is personal development. So while I was in that world of Beachbody, exercising, focusing on my food, focusing on my mindset, personal development, all of these types of things was a game changer for me. That actually has to be probably one of the most pivotal points in my life, was that coming into that in that time, in that season when Joe had his brain tumor, Britta was just born. Like there was a lot that came up in that year, but that definitely was a huge like life-saving grace for me in that season, because it gave me some glimmer of hope. It gave me some glimmer of I can contribute something and create the life I want, right? When I was faced with Joe and going through his brain tumor, it really did open up the eyes of like, gosh, life could go at any point in time. I could get in the car tomorrow and that's it. So I don't want to wait for someday down the road to actually make the most out of it, to make my dreams come true, or to do the things I really want to do. I want to make it right now. I want to live my life right now, right? It's one of the reasons like we refinanced our house and took out money to be able to put in our swimming pool, because I knew if I waited down the road, well, one, my kids are probably going to be grown up out of the house before I had enough money saved up just in cash to be able to pay for the swimming pool. And then number 2, I want to be able to enjoy life today. I'm okay paying a monthly payment or, having extra time on my mortgage to be able to have the pool and to be able to enjoy it today. I know most financial people will probably not honor that, right? Like you have to be wise with your finances. I get that. But I also have this element of, I don't want to wait till I'm 55 years old, 60 years old, and my kids are all out of the house and then start living. Because you and I are not guaranteed that. You and I are not guaranteed to live until that age. We have no idea. So when you wake up today, it's like, how can I live today to the absolute fullest, right? So that was one of the major takeaways I had from working in Beachbody and doing that. The downside of Beachbody probably all network marketing, is that there's this element of doing and reaching out to everybody all the time, right? This hamster wheel and repetition all the time. I mean, this is not unique to network marketing. This is going to be in almost all business space. There is this concept and this idea of being consistent, doing the same things over and over and over again, posting to social media, showing up, engaging, whatever it might be. Like there's these must-dos every single day. And I burnt out, completely burnt out. I was doing all of the things that I was told to do. It was more of this going through the motions, right? Like if they said reach out to 3 people is your minimum. And if you want to really crush your goals, you reach out to 10 people every single day. If you want to surpass that, like do more than that, right? And me being the dreamer and the excited person, I did more than that. I went all in. I hustled on my lunch break between when I was working at my 9 to 5. I'd be pumping and eating and messaging at the exact same time. I'd get home and put the kids to bed and I'd be messaging. And I literally every free freaking moment was about building my business and doing it over and over and over again. And when I wasn't hitting the goals that I had set, right? When I wasn't hitting those points that I wanted, I reached out to my coach and mentor at the time. And she said, well, you just have to do more. Oh my gosh. How do you do more when there's nothing more to give? How do you even not even in network marketing, but in just business in general, how do you do more when it feels like there's nothing left? When you feel like your kids aren't getting the best of you, your spouse is not getting the best of you, maybe you're still going 9 to 5 and they're not getting the best of you, and there's certainly nothing left over for you, right? Your friends, any of that. I will tell you that there was a season in there where I don't feel like I had any friends. The only friends that I had were those that were in that circle of business that I was in, which they're amazing. I'm not regretting ever having them, but I wasn't meeting up with friends. I wasn't doing anything with friends. I wasn't connecting just on a social level. Everything in my life revolved around business. Everything. I was eating, leaving, and breathing. And especially because it's workout and fitness, literally everything I was doing was revolving around fitness and business and building and growing, right? And what I found is that I'd say about 2 years into that, I couldn't do it anymore. It didn't matter if I had my sights set on this big goal down the road, if I knew where I wanted to be and how I was going to get there. It didn't matter because the sacrifice that I was making in that season was not worth it. It wasn't worth it because I was like, oh my gosh, if I ever get to that destination that I desire, what am I losing? What is it costing me along the way? It's costing me my family. It's costing me my sanity, my friends. And I wasn't making the money that I was desiring, but I was spending a ton of money on stuff like investing in anything that would help me grow my business. It was probably about that 2-year mark when things broke down. And I was like, I just can't do this anymore. I can't. And a mentor of mine, she was not a mentor before, but she stepped in. I kind of saw some of her ads on Facebook and stuff. And I started following along with her and reaching out. And I call her my gateway drug to online business and marketing in the world because she completely changed the trajectory of everything. She changed everything for me. She was this person that said, you don't have to push out to everybody. You don't have to be pushing all the time. You can be in this space of attraction and you can be in this space of receiving instead of pushing, right? I do think that we live in a world of polarity, right? We can't have off without on. You can't have cold without hot. Right? We have to have some polarity. So there is this push-pull sort of element, right? Give and receive. You have to have both. But what was happening for me was that I was living in this space of push and push and push all the time. And my guess is that you may have been in that spot at some point, or you might be in that spot right now where it feels like every day is just a push and a push. I'm going to try to, write this email. I'm going to record this reel. I'm going to show up for the podcast. I'm going to do and do and do and go and go and go. And unfortunately, you might reach that point like I did where you burn out and it's done. There's nothing left, right? My hope is that I can be like Sarah was to you, or like how Sarah was to me. I can be that for you. This glimmer of hope, right? Your gateway drug into there's a whole different way to do this. There's a whole different way to build a business and to create sustainability in your life. And I've noticed this trend, one, of masculine coaches teaching more of those strategies. And I've seen even women coaches taking those similar strategies and calling them feminine, like saying that they're feminine strategies, but they're really not feminine. They're just like masculine strategies cloaked with a woman doing them. They're not feminine at all. And it's really left a lot of women in business struggling because we are different, right? If you haven't listened to one of those earlier episodes that I put out about your 4 phases and how your phases and your hormones are really impacting your body, then go back and listen to those, because men have that testosterone that's pumping through their blood every single day. But women, we're different. We have changes like throughout the month, day to day to day. So we don't operate the same, right? That strategy and that mentality of do the same things over and over again every single day, hustling through, pushing out all the time is a masculine driven energy. And it might work to a certain extent. Maybe you thrive more in that masculine energy, hands down to you. And that's great. I'm not going to say that you're doing it wrong if you feel like it's working for you. But there's a lot of women that it's not working for. So if you're that woman, if you're the woman that's saying, this is not working for me, the strategies that all of these people are telling me to use only get me so far. And at the end of the day, maybe I'm exhausted and I'm tired and I want to pursue my goals. I want to hit those big things, but I'm tired, or it's just not working the way I want it to. I want to hit that next level, but there's nothing left in me to push it to that next level. So when we look at cycling your business, what that looks like is aligning your business up with where you're optimized. And what that does for you is take you out of this place of pushing. You're no longer pushing out, pushing all the time, that it has this expand and contract, right? There are moments in your business where you are going to be pushing out. You're going to be creating content. You're going to be creating reels. You're going to be doing lives. You're going to be doing podcasts. You're going to be reaching out to people, connecting, DMing, all of that type of stuff, right? There is that need. You cannot have a business without that element either, right? You have to have creation and putting out and putting things out there, launching, all of that type of stuff. Like you have to have that contraction or that expansion, but we also have to have the contraction. We have to have that element of, taking that space back, having time for writing, having time for reflection, having time for recharging and restoration. We have to have both. And when we operate in this place of I need both, and that my rhythm, my cycle actually allows for a predictable pattern to ensure that I'm getting both, it not only helps you feel more balanced and feel like you have more time, but it makes you more effective in that push out expansion phase. You're going to become more magnetic. You're going to be able to connect with your audience better. You're going to produce better quality work. And at the same time, it's not going to have this feeling of like, I got to record a reel today. And I don't feel like doing it, right? I have a client of mine that when we first started working together, she could feel this expansion, contraction sort of element really, really strongly. So much so that she would go like all in, posting on social media, engaging, connecting, whatever for 2 weeks. And then the second 2 weeks when she'd contract, it was like radio silence on her feed. That's not sustainable for building a business either. Right? And when I say that you don't have to be consistent, I mean, you don't have to be consistently doing the same things every day, but your business needs to be showing up consistently. So maybe it's about knowing, hey, this contraction phase is coming. What do I need to do in this expansion phase to prepare for that? Can I batch out these reels in a time when I feel like I'm in that expansion, in that connection phase, so that when I reach that contraction, in interface, I can actually do that and still have content to push out on social media. So when we start to look at your cycle and we look at how we can match this up, really what this does is it's like batching on steroids in full honesty. I even just recently was at that retreat that I was talking about, and there was a couple of women talking about how they try to batch and then they get to that point and it's like, they don't feel good. Their energy's not there. But they've scheduled it in. And so what this does when you align your cycle is that we know when you're going to feel it, when you're going to feel ready for it and feel excited, and then you're good to go, right? You're not scheduling things at a time when your body feels like, I can't do it. I'm not in it. I'm not in the zone. I don't have the energy. I can't think. I can't talk straight. And so when we use this cycle, right, and we sync up your cycle to your business, it enables you to, like I said, attract better quality clients because you're going to be speaking to them. You're going to be speaking in a magnetic way and connecting with them far differently than if you're in that zone and you're just like forcing yourself through it, right? I've worked with a voice coach, Catherine Beck. If you haven't heard and you want more to go in depth on that, I'd highly recommend her. Her program was amazing. But so much of what she talked about was this connection, right? And I'm still learning, I'll be honest. This is the skills that I'm still practicing. Part of why I'm on camera today too. But this element of connection, right? Connecting with your people. And so one of the things that really stood out for me when I was working with her was I submitted a video to her, a video that I had recorded of something. I don't even remember at this point. And she wrote me back and she goes, Renee, it's so forced. Your energy, I can feel it. Like you're pushing it out. And she's like, your audience can feel that too. You're pushing it. It feels like it took so much effort to put it out there. So my question to you is, if you were to look at how you're scheduling and what you're doing in your business, are there those times when you're forcing yourself to get something done because it has to be done? I've got to check this off the list. It's got to get out. It's got to go. And so I have to force myself to do it. Have you ever taken that moment to sit there and think, does my audience feel that? Does my audience feel that force, that push? Are they maybe feeling that like desperate energy type feel? And what would it look like if I used my cycle to tap into those zones of peak performance or peak productivity or zones of genius, tapping into each one of those superpowers and laying into that? I can tell you right now, I have recorded this podcast video with like very few edits, very few I have to pause and think about what I'm going to say, or very few mix-ups in what I said. I mean, like some of them are there, but that's just me. That's honest and real. There are times that I record a podcast and it's like every freaking word I pause and erase. I'm like, that wasn't what I wanted to say. That's not how I wanted to say it. But that's the beauty of being in the zone of when you're supposed to be there. Think about it. If it took like an episode like this is going to take me, I don't know, right now I'm at like 25 minutes that I've been recording this podcast episode. Maybe let's add another like 10-ish minutes on top of that maybe I paused or I had to think about something or whatever it might be. But what if this same episode, I did it in a time when I should be recharging and not pushing out, not creating this connection with you. And I did it at that other time. The same episode, pausing and starting and pausing and starting and redoing it. How many hours might that take me? But because I'm doing it right now, I'm so much more effective. It's taking me less time to get it done. So if I'm able to get this episode out in 30 minutes and get another one out in 30 minutes and another one out in 30 minutes and get, say, 4, right? There's a whole month of podcasting episodes that I got done in, let's give it even like 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours to have an entire month's worth of podcasting done. If it took me twice as long in another phase, that's 5 hours. So I'm saving 2.5 hours just by being in that zone. When we go back to the beginning of this episode and we talked about how so many women just don't feel like there's enough time to get it all done, I would challenge you to look at this. It's like challenge to look at how much of the time isn't necessarily that you don't have enough time, but that you're just doing it all at the wrong times. It's taking you twice as long because you don't know where you're supposed to be, or when you're supposed to be doing it, right? Maybe sometimes it happens by happenstance and you do it and you're like, wow, that was so much easier. I was able to connect. I was able to say it and it was just so much more effective. Gosh, I wish it could be like that all the time, right? And even though it can't be like that all the time. If you know when, you could make sure that you're putting those things that need that energy in those spaces. I love working on my business and I will sometimes spend, late at night getting stuff done or whatever. But if I really needed to, my business consolidates and condenses into about 2.5 days during the time when my kids are at school. 2.5 days to run my business because I know what things need to go where, what things need to be when. Does it mean that 100% of everything in my business matches up? No. Right? Like there are times that I have recorded podcasts and I am not in the zone. And there are times when I've had to do live trainings and I feel like I have to create that energy. It's going to happen, right? Even just recently, I was talking to a friend of mine and she said, gosh, after our talk and after we worked together a little bit, she's like, I rearranged and I changed my launch date, and my launch date for when would be the most optimum. She goes, but then my cycle was off and I ended up not being on that right phase and it sucked. There's going to be those times that happen. We can't predict when your cycle is going to be weird. There's so many changes that happen in your body that can affect your cycle. But the more that we're able to connect with that and the more things that are aligned with it, the easier it gets. Rather than it just being completely haphazard and completely random and you never know what you're going to feel and wherever you're going to be, it's a game changer. Game changer. So I know this episode, I've talked a lot about aligning your cycle and your business up together. And I am a huge proponent of having systems and having things in place that make running your business smoother and easier. And the reason I feel so strongly about that is because it's made such a huge difference for me. And I've seen it take such a light load off of so many other businesses that I've worked with when you have this system and this routine, right? So I can bring in and help support you in being able to align it with your cycle and creating that workflow that is optimized for your zone of genius, for your energy, for your productivity, like where your brain and body are functioning. But my coach, James Wedmore, is brilliant. Well, he's brilliant in a lot of different ways, but he is so brilliant in helping with the strategy and the systems and helping you get that routine and helping you get the pieces of the puzzle all together. Like if you needed a step-by-step process from how do I have an idea to getting that idea actually to millions of dollars in revenue, he is the go-to person. Like he has all of the tools, all the steps, all the resources in there. And what I love even more is that he has realized that the biggest shift and the biggest change that you'll see in your business isn't in all just those systems and routines. It's in the inner work. It's in the thoughts that you process through your head, and it's in the belief you have and the visions and up-leveling and growing who you are as a human being. And that is what makes the massive difference in your business, right? There were so many years that I was just plugging away, checking all the boxes, right? And wasn't seeing the growth that I desired at all. And James has completely flipped. And even if my business never grew, like if I decided one day, I'm like, gosh, I just can't do this anymore and I want to walk away. As a person, my life has completely changed because of working with James. He has transformed the way I think and transformed the way I connect with my husband. He's transformed everything. Like really, truly, he has changed everything. And so I would love to invite you to one of his trainings that's coming up. This training, I guarantee you that even if you decide that working with James is not the right fit for you, you will walk away from the training, one, inspired, but two, just having a whole new perspective and having a whole new plan on how you can actually establish your business or grow your business, right? He is brilliant at working at all stages from I don't even know what I want to do for a business. I don't even know what idea I have. I just have these vague desires to helping you figure out what that is, right? Like figuring out what it is that you desire to grow and build. And then he goes all the way to the other end of the spectrum to helping people that are already making hundreds of thousands of dollars, helping them scale to making millions of dollars. So it does not matter where you are on that spectrum, where you are in the business space, what niche you have, what systems you have, like none of that matters. I guarantee you will still learn something from him. And so I want to invite you into that training. It is amazing. I've worked with him for 2 years now. He's completely changed everything. My kids even some days are like, oh, is that James? Like we're on a first name basis with my kids are on a first name basis with him because they even have seen so much change. They've seen so much power behind all of the work that I've done in being mentored and coached in James's group. Okay. So I want to invite you to that. You can go over and grab a free seat. The training is, I think, 3 days, but it's awesome. It's just such a fun-filled, packed sessions that I guarantee you won't regret doing it. You will not regret joining it. Okay. So go over to reneefick.com/CEO and you can get registered for that training and I will see you there. I will also have some extra bonuses and extra workshops and things like that. If you do decide to work with him inside Business by Design, that I would love to then take with you and help support you in continuing to move that forward and to be able to work one-on-one right beside you and help you take what he's teaching you and actually implement it in your business and in your life too. So bringing in that, feminine, cyclical nature sort of way. That's the other thing that I love about James is that he has a lot of that feminine business mindset too, not necessarily in the cycles, but very much in a much more feminine business strategy way that it makes combining this cyclical way with the business and marrying the masculine and the feminine, marrying them together and really being able to let your business soar in a way that really works well for you, right? And his program is called Business by Design because it really is about building a business designed for you and designed for your family and designed for your life, not anybody else's. So I want to make sure that you get that seat, you get in there and get connected and just take advantage of it, right? Take advantage of this opportunity to expand and grow because that's where the magic happens. Truth be told, the magic of our life happens in those periods of expansion and reflection, right? Grow and reflect. It's beautiful. So have a fabulous day. Thank you for being with me in this first episode of me all by myself on video. If you are listening to this on the podcast on Spotify or Apple or wherever, you can go over and check it out on YouTube or on Facebook or wherever else we post this. And if you're watching us on YouTube or whatever, go hook up and hang out with us on Instagram or in the Facebook group or wherever you are. We'd love to just be able to get to know you and connect with you a little bit further. So have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you next week.